images. So one of the things that we're so lucky about is that the internet works. And so we get images. We have over 10,000 images from them about the protection of the walls during these 7 years of the war. And so they would send us all the time these images reports. And okay, so, you know, as archaeologists, numbers are extremely important to us. So each wall has a number, but, you know, that's too much for the local people. So look at this pen. You see that this is how they tell us exactly what wall they're talking about. So they would tell us about problems, suggest solutions, and it has worked very well. This is a series of images. They had a problem with one of the roofs over the walls. So in the beginning, we had other methods for the roofs over these trellises that hung the burlap curtains. But in the end, we decided to use what the local people use, and that's straw and mud on top. So the wind and the rain had made holes in the mud, so they made more mud, and they put it on the top, and that's and their English is, you know, it's not, maybe it's Google Translate English, but maybe it's their own English, and so you see that spelling here is kind of odd. Okay, so this is the roof, before and after. So again, maybe not perfect, but functions. And this is a view, a recent view, showing you, in some cases, if there were so many holes, they did replace the canvas. So they had to replace the canvas. And this is April 2016. You can see that it is so green because of all of the wind, but you can see how good how good the curtains are. Now let's talk about the necromantic pit. We excavated in 2004, and this is what it looked like in 2004. But because it was empty underneath this dome, the burlap disintegrated quicker than on the wall. So here we see the problem, 2013, and we decided to give a message. So we decided that we would tell the local people that we were in it for the long haul, that we weren't in it just for occasionally helping them. Well, we never occasionally helped them out, but we were in it until the end. And so we decided not to put burlap over this dome, but to put metal over this dome. So all of the dome has this trellis of metal, which is all new, and we decided to put metal. So we had somebody come to put metal on it, and thank God, because then there was all of this snow, and so it worked, and it continues to work really well. Now, one day in the life of Orkesh, the 22nd of October 2015. This is a map from the New York Times, and it shows you that ISIS is about 60 kilometers south of Orkesh. And what was happening in Orkesh when ISIS was in the area of Hasaka? They were there. It just so happened that we had these pictures on the same day. They were there preserving the site. They were there taking the plants off of between the stones, because of course if you let the plants grow, then the stones are going to gradually move and you're going to lose your site. So again, male and female, they were all there preserving the stones. Now, they would not only send us pictures, but they would send us reports and their timesheets. So, okay, this is one of them, not the same day, but October 2012. So one of our workmen says he didn't work that week because he got married. My wedding. Okay, tourism during the war. How are we doing? Okay, tourism during the war. Okay, I'll show you this quickly. Even before the war, we had lots of local tourists. You know, just like Buccellati, the local people are really interested in their cultural heritage. And so all kinds of students came, people from other, this is a German excavation, other sites came, a famous American actor, Martin Sheen came, and all of these people could learn something because we had these educational panels all over the site. And so here you see one of them, a whole bunch of other visitors. So we had to repair the panels and we had to reprint the pages. Now remember, simplicity is important. And so these pages are only PDF pages that could be printed on anybody who had a printer. And so we were able to reprint all of the pages and put them back on these panels. And we also had smaller panels in front of important things that we wanted to point out. And so this is them fixing up the smaller panels, and there's one that they put back on the site. And visitors come. We saw an umbrella at Buccellati. This is another woman, not the same woman, who came in 2015. 2017, a group of a family came to see the site. And we're extremely proud of the fact that, that we have a guidebook that was the first guidebook in English, Arabic, and Kurdish. Okay, now I'll turn over to Giorgio.
I think I've run out of time.
Oh dear, I was too long.
Before I start. No, but I have to go very quick because I have a lot of material to show you and we'll manage. The idea then is really to bring in the local people as part of the whole enterprise. Something, as Marilyn has showed you, we started doing it from the very beginning without ever thinking of the war. The war has put us to the test and has shown the value of the approach, that is in terms of the technique of how to present and save the site, but also the deeper value of the impact that it has on people, because the response is really extraordinary. The idea was to also develop a park, an eco-archaeological park, because we wanted to preserve the ecology of the area. It's a beautiful, pristine area. So it was quite large, 54 square kilometers, with 22 villages. We had prepared a very detailed plan, but it was in 2010 and we never managed to get the legal setup for the park. So the park never came into existence, although all the plans are there. The landscape to be preserved, and the sustainability was also on the economic level, as Prof was telling us before. There was one area of the plan that came into existence thanks to the local women. We had suggested that each village would have a aspect of ancient life tied to modern life. So of 22 villages, we would serve like 22 halls in a museum, and one of them was going to be devoted to textiles. So the women took us up on that. These are two rooms into sort of single room houses next to the site, It's called, they called it. This was actually done in 2012, so after we had left. But we always say, Mary and I, we did even though we were not there physically. Because in effect, it's as if we had been there physically. That's part of the beauty of the project, that we have been working with such synergy that we can justifiably say, apart from the fact that we funded all of these activities. So we call this the portal of workage, and inside one room there were the women who were producing the little chalkboard on the wall has the names and the times of the women who are supposed to do what when. And these are jewels, but then there were dolls with the logo of the project which they designed and the name of the woman who did it. In this case, since they were women, they tended to get married and leave the villages. And so in 2016, we started a school with two women, particularly one, Amira, who was left of the old team. And so she taught them to do what they had been doing. There was a group of about 12, 15 women. We asked them to send us pictures. They didn't want the photographer to go there because it was a male photographer. And they didn't want to show their faces. So they engineered these beautiful pictures from above. So you see their hands, a little bit of their noses, and the work they're doing. But then we told them, this was October 31st. We said, look, it's a bit dark. And so came the other one 2 weeks later with much more light, and the progress of the work that they had been doing. And so they did, and they ended up having a whole inventory of clothing and dolls, which they send to us and we can sell. It's a minimum amount, of course, that they can produce it that we can sell, but it's psychologically too, it means an enormous, it means a lot to them. The second aspect of the park, see, we couldn't do it from above. We could not have the legal status of the park. It was actually a blessing in disguise, because it turned out that we are now doing the park from below. In other words, instead of imposing a legal status above, we are trying to motivate the local people to do what should be done, to preserve there are some other archaeological sites in the park area, but especially the landscape. So this year, we started an awareness program where two colleagues from Kamishli, the city near us, go to each of these villages and give them lectures. We just finished this with 27 villages because we went a bit beyond the boundaries of the park. In 4 months, we covered all of these villages, and this is the setting. These are just unbeatable, I think, these pictures that I show you. Either in living rooms of the houses of the village, or in schools, in the local school of each village. They're really incredible. You see little groups of 20, 30, 40 people, and the reports they send us also are just wonderful. They say, you know, between the two colleagues, what the questions were that they asked, and sometimes how few people came. Few people because in some cases some of these villages actually have less families than before. So these are some of the reports. The lecture was attended by 45 people from different age groups. Continuous work of the expedition there during the crisis is what they are asking about, and how much will we be gone because they miss us. By the way, a little aside at the beginning, we thought of this in December of last year, so 7 months ago. And we were saying, we really cannot speak of the park because the park does not exist. So why do we try to do this? So Mary and I did a little video clip in our poor Arabic, but I think it shows a sign, telling the people that we miss them a lot, and that we want them to know what we still think about, because what we want the future to be. And this resonates enormously. So each of these meetings started with our video, and the people responded immensely because there is this real sense of family that is communicated in this fashion. So the park from below, as I was saying before. We also are trying to develop a little library in each village so that in the future there will be a real library. For now we have only sent 2 little volumes to each of the ones that are outside. So that each village at least has in the main house of the village these 2 volumes. And they're interested in the lecture. They ask when do we come back, and then why do you cover these walls? See, very simple questions, which were the ones we were getting actually from our workmen. Every week we gave one lecture basically to our workmen about the excavations. And we were always getting this kind of very simple but basic and very important questions. And these are the names of the 2 who are coming, who were giving the lectures. This also to give you an idea of how closely monitored the whole project is. But then the exhibits. This is something that also developed in a curious way. We became sort of experts in exhibits because we have done by now 7, or just about 1 every year in the last 10 years. And so we have come to think more and more about what is the concept of why an exhibit is interesting. It is an event that takes place. It's not like you sit down and read a book. There is a full involvement because you have to make the effort of going there, you go through it. There is a path that is physically defined. There is a sense of the overall structure in an exhibit because you begin here and you end there. And there is a context that is other. It's different from me because it's there, but I am in it. It's as if I were on the stage. And there is a staging and the sense-related effect. The exhibit is not, again, like reading a book, but not even like watching a film or a video. And the social impact is enormous because really it affects people of all walks in life. Sorry, this got a bit out of kill. So I'll show you all of the exhibits we have done. The exhibit of the 2, they're all very different. You'll see why. The exhibit of the 2 flags, you'll see why in a second. This was in Damascus for the residence of the American ambassador. The American ambassador in 2010 asked us to do something to show that America likes Syria. So July 4th of 2010, it was at the embassy, just for one night, before the reception of the 4th of July, which is Independence Day of the United States. And this was the exhibit, okay, in English. So then they gave it to the National Museum, which exhibited it the following year, March of 2011. March of 2011. 1 to the 11th of March, 15th is when the war started. This is the announcement of the exhibit in the National Museum on the website of the American Embassy. And this is on the press of the Senate of Syria, with the Deputy Chief of Mission and the Vice Minister of Culture visiting the exhibit, and the 2 flags. The last time that the 2 flags have been shown together, because America likes Syria until March 15th, and then all of a sudden it didn't anymore. The smallest and the greatest. The second room, I showed you one room before. Now look at the second room. They put it together with pictures they had. A big exhibit in Rimini, in Italy. It's in central Italy, on the Adriatic, and it's a huge festival. There are, if you can believe it, 500,000 people in 1 week who visit, not our exhibit, but the festival. But our exhibit were 22,000 people in 1 week, which is extraordinary. And this was about the excavation, so about the part that Marilyn showed you before. But we invited also colleagues. This is Mattia, who is a major Italian archaeologist from working in Syria. The superintendent of archaeology, director of archaeology of Idlib, which is a city very much in the news nowadays, of Aleppo, and of Kamishli, our city. And this man said, why don't we do the same exhibit in Kamishli? Kamishli, again, the city near us. And so here he is. He brought this, not really the whole exhibit, which was a huge thing, but translated it into Arabic and Kurdish. You can see it in the background, and look at all the people who go there. This is now 2015, the beginning. Again, the map to remind you of how, see, there are no boundaries between Kamishli, there are no, it's like Holland, it's all very flat. So there was no security against ISIS getting there. And while all of this is happening, here they are. Look at them, you know, the dignity, the sense of importance, of worth, and also the cross-section of people, old and young and men and women. And this black slide to remind us, really, as Marilyn said at the beginning, of the darkness of the hour. You all know these kind of images, and here are our little vans bringing instead of the weapons, the posters of our exhibit, because it was an itinerant poster exhibit. They took it to some other small towns, including Amuda near us. This is again a famous one, and the contrast of the young men and women here putting up posters instead of tearing down statues. And this is a very interesting picture because of what it shows in the background. You're beginning to read it. It says center, and then for revival. We see the name of revival of what? But the fact that it's all very much in the background is significant. You'll see why in a minute. Of civil society. So what I find very significant is that they didn't try to show this to us. You can hardly read it in these pictures. It's really that it's simply a matter of fact for them. They want the renewal of civil society, and they're doing it. So they did then yet another exhibit of their own, and this was about a different site. So we call it the twin site, Tel She'ir, which they had excavated, and we again funded the exhibit. It's not that these are enormous expenses, but they're expenses anyway. And so we're helping them with this money. And this is then the exhibit on their site. And then last fall, through it was the idea of Hannibal Saad, again our organizer of the exhibit today, the one who engineered really the thought of having an exhibit in Beirut, which we call then the Archeology for a Young Future. It was sponsored by UNESCO. And it's the one that is shown in the Hannibal. I was just praising your great contribution, because this exhibit at the American University in Beirut was really made possible because of Hannibal and his support with UNESCO in particular, who invited the people from Syria to come as colleagues. And I'll just show you very quickly the sections. It's what you have in the on the monitors. The idea was really to show first the archaeology, and then pretty much what also we are covering now in our lecture, the fact that the site is alive, the vigor of the women, shirts of men, we will see it in a minute. There is a research that continues, and then the power of the idea, the Center for the Revival of Civil Society. There is a fact, see, I feel that we as the West are really kind of contributing everything except ideals to Syria and to other countries like Syria. We are bringing weapons, that's the worst thing we can bring. We bring humanitarian aid, which is the best thing we can bring. But we really don't give them ideals, which is what they find in a perverse manner in ISIS and every other kind of fundamentalism. So I feel that small as it is, our project is important for this reason. It shows that ideals, and I'm not talking about religious ideals, you see, this is 6,000 years ago we are talking about, but it's what unites them, but gives them a sense of belonging, and we'll see a little bit more even in what comes next. So the power of the ideal is really kind of the ultimate message, and the poetry. That's why the poetry is so important, I think, for the as a thread for the whole thing. We also did this catalog, which you can see at the entrance. The beauty of it is that we printed it in Damascus. This was printed in Damascus in October of last year for the exhibit in Beirut in November of last year. And the fact that they can do such beautiful printing in itself is indicative. And we also did the Arabic translation of the catalog we had done for the Rimini exhibit, which is also available there, which was also done in Damascus, and which again shows our commitment, as it were, to the local, not to the local, to the future, as Marilyn was saying. That we are really there for the long run. In Beirut, we also had this round table. Here you see Hannibal next to Marilyn and me, and Cristina Menegazzi is the one who is speaking, is the director of UNESCO, who helped us with the exhibit. Now, the reason why this was significant is because we had the Director General of Antiquities from Damascus, with 2 other directors of sections from Damascus. We had 3 representatives of the Kurdish area in our area, and an Armenian prelate. He is a priest, but very much involved in the local community and culture, again in our area of commissioning. And we were all there talking together, plus a representative of our staff from Damascus, about the current situation and the future. So this dialogue, which was very warm and very intense, was at that point, for instance, that the idea of this awareness program developed as a way of creating a response from below. And then they said again the same thing. As for Rimini, they said, well, they brought the exhibit from Rimini to commission the Muda, which thought before, let's bring the exhibit of Beirut to commissioning. And so here it is. This is the announcement, and this was done in April, 2 months ago. The entrance into the hall is very poor. You'll see the inside of the room in a moment for another reason. This is their flyer, and this is the room on the inside. So it's very pretty. But one thing that's nice are the red dots, which are the translation in Arabic and Kurdish of the text in English that we had done for Beirut. And again, this getting together. Here you have this Armenian prelate with the Kurdish authorities of the area, and with their back to us, Yasmin Mahmoud, who is our Arabic representative from Damascus. And here, the candies being offered, I think it's a very emblematic picture. And the interest. And the young woman in the center is Yasmin, our colleague from student from Damascus, and the other woman is the daughter of our guard, who is here on the right. And you see her here as a young girl as she was visiting. Now she's a student in archaeology and commissioning. And the exhibit in Leiden. We have to refer to our little 3-monitor exhibit outside there. And then in Rimini, we will have another very large exhibit in August, from the 19th to the 26th. If any of you is on the Adriatic coast, come and visit us. So education, and we're almost finished. We have started a project again these last few months. It's amazing how these projects begin without thinking about it and without really the kind of planning that we were shown for Feldarata before. Because, see, it's all kind of developing in response to very concrete situations. So there wasn't really end of the crisis. So we started a project putting together 2 middle schools of Camishli and another city in Italy about the same size, Domodossola. This is the school in Domodossola. Marilyn and I went to give the lecture to the whole school. Here is 400 students. Here they are. And here we are there, and here are the students taking notes. Here is us at the end. And these middle school kids amazed us because they were really extremely serious and very interested. It's a musical school. Musical is important not only because we are in the Oriental landscapes within that framework, but for another reason that I will come back to in a minute. So it's a musical school. The students are taking notes. They come up at the end to show us the notes and ask for our signature. They organized a little Christmas boutique where they sell the they sold the things from our women, and they started the nature of the relationship between the two schools is a series of essays which began with the answer to this simple topic: what makes you feel at home? The idea was to lead them to think about archaeology. What is archaeology in the end for you? And having the kids from Italy and the kids from Kamishli, from Syria, talk to each other. And here are the answers. I have to go very quickly. These are the kids from Italy now. Santibenedia to me is my little mountain village. I was not born there, but when I'm there I feel at home. It's a special place. It's the old mill. You see, it's beginning to be an archaeological essay because this, I think it's a young girl, speaks about the context of the village. The mill, the bar where she was eating, or the coffee shop where she was going to drink with her father. And another one, the cold and snow are two things that make me feel at ease at home. And then the mountains, which give me a sense of security. That's also beautiful, the sense that being in the valley is important for them. And then the villages are structured as follows, and it goes to this describing the village, so they begin to really observe the physical environment. I miss a lot my mountain lodge when I'm not able to go there, etc. I also love the structure of the mountain lodge, but the most beautiful thing is the silence. One can only hear the birds singing and the water running in the streams. Now, okay, this got it out, did it very quickly, the accordion and just a picture. But now the other side of the world, in Syria, this is the entrance to this, it's basically the same building where the exhibit is. A very poor building and cold. This was in February. So the kids there are with their coats on. And interestingly, in Arabic, New Horizon, again, you see like the revival of the civil society, the New Horizon, and in Arabic, the Academy of the New Horizon. But again, without trying to show us anything, it's the reality for them. And here is Yasmin, our assistant from Damascus, who went there for the opening of the exhibit and also then talked to the kids in the middle school. And this is the man, the colleague who runs the program. Here she is answering questions in the room. And here are now the Arabic essay. The essays of the Kurdish, mostly, well actually there are three, they're Kurdish, Arabic and Armenian kids who write all in Arabic. And these are mostly about the grandparents. My grandpa always talks about the old traditions, so we learn about it. And there are sites in my area, so we don't have time to read all of them. So the translation, of course, was sent to the kids in Italy and vice versa, from Italian to in English, because then they started to speak in English with each other. We don't really have time to read all of this, but just to give you an idea of the quantity. And they felt that they hadn't seen enough. Some of them had never been to archaeological sites. So, like the busload, but you remember that this is all in Syria now, not the kind of images you normally see. These are the field trips that we have organized for the kids of the middle schools to go to the site. Here, and sites that you have already seen before. So the amount of joy that comes out of this is really remarkable. And then they wrote their impressions of the trip. And again, we don't have time, unfortunately, to read them, but they're in English now. So this guy writes in English a two-page thing explaining why it is important. And one thing that comes across more and more is my country. Always my country, meaning really the whole country, how important it is for me to be connected to my country through, in a sense, your archaeology. That is, we are the ones who are really telling them what the archaeology is. And then, just now, May 30th, so less than a month ago, we had 2 Skype meetings between the 2 schools. And then to finish the research, very quickly, we're also continuing with real research. So this was December, we brought shirts to the village, and this man who was Marilyn's assistant, whom we see here, has now processed about 60,000 shirts that we have inserted in our database, and that Marilyn, of course, checks. He was her assistant. Again, the usual map to remind you that we are not talking, we are talking war, basically. So Hamade, the name of this young man, who doesn't have a university training at all, but who knows the ceramics extremely well because of the work with Marilyn, gave a seminar at the University of Comiskey on our pottery. And here is the final graduation picture, always with our little girl, who is now, and this is the final certificate given to her. And then field trips by the university students. Our man, you met him before, who is the one who, with the selfies. And this is another interesting picture. We have seen several of these, you know, where jihadists, whatever, are looking at things on the ground. Here they're studying the pottery with the actual pottery and then the drawings. That Hamade on the right is showing the students from Erbil who have come to visit them. A whole world that you've never known existed, really. So and I, this is the reflection. You see, this is really, what Marilyn showed at the beginning is kind of in a nutshell the whole story. There is a stairway, but it comes to life when people are there and find joy in it. So in a way, what we're going to have at the end is going to have actually a mirror at the end of the exhibit, saying, look at yourself now in the mirror. What have you learned? Have you learned something from the exhibit? And one is the answer of that Yasmin has given. This is a beautiful letter she wrote when she went just a month ago, well, the end of April, saying, the very end, she says, the whole thing, the end, the light rain which made the place smell so wonderful was indeed therapeutic. So our answer, and this is the closure, is in a sense a question. Marilyn and I have been asking ourselves in the last 7 years, why are we doing this? There is nothing really, it seems, that contributes to our research. And yet there is. And that's the answer that we have found for ourselves. What we have found is the great significance that the territory has for people. So these people live there, and they live of the territory in ways that we never could, no matter how much time we spend there. So the loyalty to the territory comes really in ways that are undefinable but very real and profound, and we are the recipients of that. So I think that in many ways we are really better archaeologists because we are in some ways being shown by the people there what it means to live there. the Sherds did not live 6,000 years ago. There were people who made Sherds who lived there. And it's these people that are, in a way, still speaking to us today through their successors. Now we put together, the project now is primarily in Italy, while the excavations were primarily in the United States. And if you want to have a look, this is this website which is sort of, it's almost open. It's open, it's not quite finished, but anyway, it's easy to remember. And these are the young future of the people working with us, including Arwa Harobi, who is with us here today. So these are all young Syrians who in Syria and abroad are working very actively on our project, and to whom we are very beholden, just as we are to the poet. And we finish just as Marilyn began with his poem. Oh stranger, how long have you been in the street? Looking for addresses you knew once upon a time. The face of the city changed in your long absence. Prepare for yourself a seat in the garden of the past. And sit as if but waiting for the ones you love. Be careful not to get into the oriental boredom. They will come for sure, they will come. The bird does not forget the window of the house, the branches on which he lived and known the spring.
It's in fact time to leave, but I will give you the opportunity for putting one short question, if there is. Yes?
I have a question about the political situation. I understand that the Kurds in northern Syria established an alternative antiquity service. From your story, I understand that you still have a representative from Damascus, so I suppose that it's the representative of the Syrian antiquity service. What exactly is the relationship between this new established antiquity service of the Kurds and the Syrian one?
Thank you. The problem is with the adverb exactly. The relationship is in effect very, I would say, warm and constructive, meaning that they are really all concerned about the protection of the past, the people both in Damascus and in our area. And they feel that whoever does it is for the better. That's the amazing thing to us, that regardless of the higher sort of level of politics, including those of the foreign powers who are really exploiting the situation in Syria, regardless of all of that, the Syrians are very much united. One thing that struck us is that they never use the term Kurds, Arabs, or Armenians. They only speak of themselves as Syrian, all the ones we've talked to. And the Kurds are very much eager to show the relationship to the constructive and professional relationship that they have with Damascus. So in a way, it's like a ballet, you know, you have to kind of coordinate very different steps. But there is some kind of harmony in the common concern for the protection of the past. That's why you saw, your remark was correct. So how come is it if, so there is no, it's a ballet in the sense also that, you know, the official recognitions are difficult and don't really come. They don't recognize each other officially, but it doesn't matter. What really matters is really the substance of working together. And I think we have a lot to learn from that. We have a lot to learn from the Syrians in general.
Thank you. We are about the end of this small conference, but I only want to give Hannibal the mic to announce the concert for tonight.
Yes, there is a nice concert tomorrow. There is a nice concert today with the European Ensemble, the Catholic Ensemble we worked with last year. Thank you so much.
Yes, I'd like to announce there is a nice concert today by European Ensemble. They'll play contemporary music from Syrian composer, 4 of them. I wish you come because it's really well-made music and great ensemble we worked with last year. We made a tour in 4 different projects, and this year in our festival, among other things, they will present today Zey Jabri, the composer from Syria. He lives in Stockholm, in Sweden now. Norway, sorry. And there's Nuri Iskandar, our most famous composer who worked with contemporary music for 50 years already. And he uses this maqam system, but in a contemporary way, close to many composers like Snoeke. That's his one of main influences. So it's nice if you come, you will see this kind of music that not usual in the Netherlands. Well done, well written, and well composed, we believe, and well played. And then there will be Gertmo, who will be using projection and using screen from idea of archaeology, but artistically. So there is no message there other than idea of archaeology and what we call Oriental time. So you can read about it, but I hope you can come. It's a nice 1-hour visual audio experience. Enjoy.
So once again, thank you all for coming here. I hope you enjoyed these 2 lectures giving an insight in how to deal with cultural heritage for the future. Thank you.